Okay, I'm going to make you big and me small. Okay, good. Here we go. Hello, lady friends. Welcome to today's episode of Real Women, Real Talk with me, your host, Sarah Renshaw. And please allow me to introduce to you today's guest, Erin Parsley. Erin is coming to us from right here in Mérida, Mexico. She's not Mexican, but she does have her residency, don't you? Yeah, you've obtained your
legal.
residency.
I'm legal. Yeah, as of a couple years ago. Yep. Yeah.
And you call Mexico home.
Hmm.
She originally hails from San Francisco, but like many of us extranjeras, felt a calling to shake up the lives that we knew from our home countries, grow some women balls, and give Mexico a swing. For whatever reason.
I call those ovaries.
There we go.
I like to say, I grew some ovaries, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not, it's not easy to move to a new country. But for some reason, I speak to a lot of the women that have moved here, and it's like, I don't know why the hell I'm there, but I felt this calling, and here I am.
Right? So that is exactly right. That's exactly right. When people ask me sometimes, why did you move to Mexico? And the best answer that I have, the most true answer that I have, it was a deep inner soul knowing that I needed to do it. And I just had this urge within me, and I needed to follow it because it kept speaking to me, and it was so clear. And sometimes you see their look of confusion and like, what?
Yeah, because I mean, the calling has to be so powerful to make you change everything, because it's not easy to pack up your life and move to another house, another city, another state, but come on, another country where everything is different. And then you have to figure it out.
Totally.
So I met Erin at one of my candlelight stretch and sound bowl classes here in my sacred space. Erin had come to a few of the classes before we really spoke, other than well wishes and well greetings, until one evening a dear friend of mine, Ruby, came to the class. And I'm not sure how our conversation began, but I know that you both stayed for a couple hours after the class. And that's when I learned more about Erin. And I'm speaking to you in first and third person here. So okay. I'm doing the introduction. And that's when I learned more about you, Erin, and what you have to offer the world and our guest here on Real Women, Real Talk. Erin is an award-winning dancer and choreographer, a public speaker, and a human design coach. I had not heard of that type of coach before we started speaking of it, but I was excited to learn more. Like, what is a human design? What does that mean?
What is that?
Exactly. I'm already designed, aren't I? So Ruby, now a mutual friend of ours, Ruby and I did a human design session with Erin, and I have to say, it's very clear that you know what you're doing, and this type of work can be beneficial to the masses. It's very interesting, and it's one of the reasons why I asked you to come on here to share with us what is the human design experience, or human design coaching, or human design
system. You can think of it as a system for self-awareness. Yeah.
There we go. So without further ado, I will let Erin tell us more about her story and where she wants to go and what you want to share with us. I do have a few questions, but we'll let the conversation flow wherever it wants to go. We've already started talking a little bit, but I do hope that you share your story about moving to Mexico, because it is quite lively and full of twists and turns. So without further ado, hi, Erin, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This is really awesome to get to connect with you, Sarah, and just so grateful that I followed my gut, knowing my sacral authority. I'll talk a bit about that. You'll hear more about that as I share. To actually come to your class the first time. I just had a hit, a knowing like, I want to do that. Like, I want to go do some stretching and sound bowls. That sounds amazing. I did my first sound healing, had my first sound healing experience. Like, I don't even know the exact year, but it was over a decade ago when I lived up in the wilderness of Canada. And they were all crystal bowls, actually. And it was so, I met this woman that was a sound healing practitioner that long ago. And I went to her experience, and I get to lay down and all the crystal bowls are just, all around me. It was just astonishing. And I've just been a super fan since then. So yeah. So when I saw that you did it, I came across you and I was like, sound healing. I was like, oh my God. So I'm like, I'm there. And then I'm just like, so, so grateful because now I've met you and I've met my beautiful friend and now client Ruby as well, who's incredible. And I'm just so grateful. So anyways, let's see here. So yes, I am a human design based coach, but I am also a trained sex and intimacy coach and relationship coach, really relationship coach. That's really what I focus on the most, both the relationship to ourselves, which is the foundational, most important relationship, and then also to others, our loved ones, romantic relationships, but also non-romantic, our family, our friends. Really, life is relationship, right? The connection to others is we're experiencing this every day, and the quality of our relationship both to ourselves and then to the others around us really determines the quality of our life. So yes, I'm trained in the somatic method of sex and relationship coaching. So I use somatic practices and human design in my coaching practice. I'm also
But how did you even get to that? So you're coming from a background, you were a professionally trained dancer living in San Francisco.
so
And you
dance
mentioned,
is yes, I'm a dancer first and foremost. And most people who know me well know me as dance. That is my world. Yes.
so
Yes.
then how did you end up in the Canadian wilderness? Was that a vacation or were you living there?
No.
What was that story?
Oh my gosh, Sarah, I have so many stories. How much time do we have? I have so many stories. Oh my goodness. That is a whole nother story. That was years ago. My life, I've lived so many places. I've done so many things. San Francisco is always my home base. That's where my family is. I'm a Northern California girl. So like the Northern California is my home base. And then I've always jumped off and lived all over. When I was a teenager, by the time I was 16 years old, actually 15, I went to Houston Ballet School. And by the time I was 16, 17, and 18, I was living on my own in New York City, going to Joffrey Ballet School.
Wow.
So on my own. And this was pre-internet and pre-cell phone days in the 90s. I did not have a cell phone or internet. And I was roaming around New York City by myself, living on my own in like the New York, like lived in different places, but the NYU dorms one summer, a boarding house for international like women, another summer. I was on my own as a teenager in New York City. Okay.
Wow, that's crazy. Your parents must have been
I just
always nerves.
it's just a part of me. And now that I've learned in my design, my human design, it's a part of my design as well. I have qualities of what's called the game player, which is like I need to go try everything in life, and I want to just go explore and adventure and try things like and do all the things before I die. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's me. And then I also have, it's called the Wanderer Gate. And not to get too confusing around human design, like that's a study, it's a process to understand the complexities of human design because it's a very complex and precise system, which is why I love it. But I have what's called the Wanderer Gate, which is a gift, a quality, a gift that you have. And I have the Wanderer. And so I'm literally meant to go around, travel, wander, explore, and then tell stories about it. I mean, you can't make this up. It's just, it's like literally my design to do this, to be here speaking with you about my wanderings and my experience. Because yeah, people are like, you're like a ballerina that has been living in major cities your whole life, dancing for ballet companies and, you know, total city girl, right? How did you end up in the wilderness on 27 acres in the Canadian forest, homesteading, living with grizzly bears? You were like, what?
I know where there was some life lessons there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, well, I was going on an adventure. I was going on an adventure and I wanted to just test myself out and see if I could do it. So let's see, how do I keep this somewhat succinct? There's so much in it. Basically, I really actually, to go backwards a little bit, I had a very, to get serious for a moment, because that's part of my story. I had a very traumatic youth growing up. I suffered a lot of abuse thanks to the dance world, in a few different ways. One was the verbal abuse and body shaming that was happening constantly from all different teachers telling me, you know, negative things about my body. And it's not just me, it's rampant, unfortunately, in the ballet world. So especially as women, you know, ballerinas and training to be ballerinas, like you're going to deal with this. I pray that it's changed somewhat now. I don't know, but this was, you know, decades ago, really in the 90s. Yeah. So back then, it was a very toxic culture. And so I was told to my face once, you're too fat to be a ballerina. And yeah, to my face.
As a young lady, I mean, it doesn't
As
matter
an
what
18.
age, that's intense, but as a young lady who's trying to find her way, oh yeah, you're too fat.
Who has dedicated the last 10 years of her life completely, solely, one track mind to be a ballerina. You know, I mean, I was studying, by the time I was 9 years old, I was in the dance studio 5 days a week for hours every day. And I devoted my entire childhood to becoming a ballerina. I mean, I didn't even go, this is just to give you an idea here. I did not even go to my high school graduation because I had a performance that night and I was the lead role and I was much more interested in performing than going to my graduation. You know, I didn't go to proms. I wasn't doing like normal teenage things, because I just cared about being a ballerina. So I was just super focused on that. And for me, it wasn't a sacrifice. It was what I wanted. And I just
Mhm.
knew, like, sometimes people were like, how did you decide to be a dancer? And I'm like, decide? Like, I was born to dance. There was never a decision. There was never anything else I was going to do. I didn't have to figure it out. I just, again, that internal soul calling. When I feel it intensely and I follow it. So I dedicated my youth to being a ballerina, highly competitive, such a hard world, you know, to survive in, and I was going to do it. So yeah, so all the body shaming like has created a lot of body dysmorphia. And to be clear too, like I wasn't fat. I wasn't even close to fat, you
No,
know? So
I
it
can't.
just it just confused me so much. I mean, I was getting accepted into these elite ballet programs that are really competitive. Like obviously they thought I was good enough to get in the program, but then they're still gonna like tell me all this negative messaging towards me, right? So it was really confusing. Um, additionally, uh, okay, this is a little intense, but this is my story, so I'm sharing it.
Thank you.
So additionally, I was for years sexually abused by one of my dance mentors, who was like uh, the one I looked up to really get me where I needed to go. And I trusted him. And we had a very, it was over years. And so he really took advantage of that trust. And with that, you know, that disparity of power at that time, it was really, yeah, it was hard.
Wow.
I was a completely innocent young woman who had had no experience with dating even or boys or anything, and he just
Mhm.
he just kind of hijacked
Took
my,
advantage of that.
took advantage of it and hijacked me psychologically and then physically too. So this has
Wow.
taken me decades to deal with, right? And so in my 20s, I was starting to actually go, I need to deal with what happened to me because I'm never gonna be happy, safe, free, feel good about myself, have self-esteem, trust myself. I mean, I was super shy back then. People that meet me now are like, you're not shy. I'm like, you don't know. I couldn't speak up to save my life. I didn't trust, I didn't have a voice. I couldn't find my voice back then.
Well,
And
that
I
was
was,
taken away from you in multiple ways. I mean, first
yeah,
the verbal abuse about the body shaming, and now
yeah,
a person who's your mentor that you look up to has it's is taking advantage of you
yes,
in ways that,
or
I mean,
undescribable. Yeah,
unfathomable. I mean, so of course your voice disappeared. Who are you going to talk to? The
yeah,
people that are around you are the ones that are abusing you.
yeah, yeah. So I had a really, really rough childhood. So for anyone that looks at me now is like, oh my God, you're so happy and everything in your life and da-da. I'm like, yes. Because the reason I seem, I'm so positive now and I am so courageous and badass, because yes, I am,
Yes, you are. I agree.
is because I've fought so hard to become this woman. So I truly embody her now, right? I wasn't just like this way from the time I was a kid. I was super sensitive. I'm also a highly sensitive person. And I was super sensitive when I was a child, especially. So no, I was not this Erin for most of my life, a lot of my life, for decades of my life. That's the
Mhm.
amazing, beautiful gift of getting older. Women, for any of you that are worried about getting older, I encourage you to take it as an opportunity to actually embody your power and your full gifts more and more and more, to get to know who you are and dive deep, learn about yourself, whether it's through human design, which is an amazing system for self-awareness, once again, or some other, and in whatever way you're learning about yourself, take the time and be intentional to do that and start to really connect to who you are so that you can unfold and blossom into this beautiful expression of your highest self. And as
Exactly.
women, that is what I know. We have this opportunity as we go through our life to embody our full gifts more and more and more. So I am so grateful to be in my 40s now. I'm like, I would not want to live through what I lived through again. I'm like, no, like 40 was an amazing turning point for me where I feel like, honestly, Sarah, I feel like my life started at 40.
Yeah.
Also, I made a decision for it too. It was a decision. I'm like, all right, the first 40 years of my life have been kind of a shit show, like just so chaotic and traumatic and difficult, that I deserve to have a good life now. And I'm going to feel good about myself. And I'm making the decision to love myself. And so 40 on is going to be where I shine. And it's happening. So I'm grateful.
I can relate. I feel the exact same way, and I think it's exactly what you said. I think we get to an age. It's like a what's the saying? It's usually meant for younger women, a coming of age or something. But I think it's
Mm,
like it happens in our 40s because we've
mhm.
had the challenges and the struggles, and we're like, okay, I'm not doing that again. That
Yeah.
didn't feel good, but I
Yeah.
like that. That felt something. Speaking like the sound bowls, you related that to the time that you did it in Canada. You're like, oh yeah, I like that. I'm going to do that again. So we
Mhm.
have enough experience to kind of weed through what we like and what we don't like. And now, if you're doing the work, then you have the courage to to find your voice, to have your voice, to use your voice, and to stick up for yourself. So I
Yeah.
completely agree with you about coming into the 40s. It's the coming of age. I don't know what that saying is, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, really the seminal turning point of what changed my life, what saved my emotional life, it happened in my 30s. So thank you, 32-year-old self. I forget how old I was exactly. Thank you for having the courage to do this, because it was life-changing for me. And this is related to Canada, by the way. So, that's what I was saying. So in my 20s, not feeling great at all about myself. I'd been living in New York City, again, moved there. Then I lived in Chicago. I moved to Chicago by myself as well. One suitcase, one way ticket. It's kind of a theme here.
A thing for you.
And I lived in Chicago for 3 years, and had a life there, and was dancing with a dance company. And then I did my own choreography for the first time, because I decided, like, I'm really tired of dancing for other people and like just waiting for them to give me opportunities to express myself creatively. I need to take the reins and become a choreographer and do my own work, which was terrifying because I did not trust myself, and I was a perfectionist, and I didn't think I could do it good. And I had to get over that. I had to get over myself and just try. And I was terrified. And thank God I did, because now I've been now we're in 2024. 2023, last year, it was my 20-year anniversary of being a choreographer and doing my
Wow.
own work. And I have not looked back since. I haven't danced for anyone else for the last 20 years. I've created my own world of dance, and it's been amazing. So super grateful that, in my 20s, I took that, again, that internal urge to create and to be more of myself, and not rely on other people to tell me what I could and couldn't do, or how I should express myself, or I was good enough for them, or good enough to be in this role, or to, all the things that when we're waiting for other people to give us permission to creatively express ourselves and be ourselves, it's really disempowering. And I was just tired of that. So grateful that I took that leap. Extremely creatively fulfilled now for the last, 20 years, being a dancer, being an artist, being a performer. I still perform. Just last September, I performed at Grace Cathedral, right up at the altar. I'm still an active performer as well. I plan to dance and perform, like, be an old lady and be dancing, like I'm gonna dance till the day I die, right? Like, I am going to continue my artistic and creative expression, because when I dance, it is an expression of my soul. Dance is how you take everything I've been through and process it through my body, all the emotions, all the trauma, all the feels, all good emotions, bad, all the things. And when I'm dancing, I'm working with all that emotion, and I'm sharing it, and I'm moving it through my body, and I'm expressing it. And so that it becomes art, right? So it's an offering. Everything I've been through and all the emotions and feelings, because I feel a lot and I'm highly sensitive, and I'm open to all the feelings of other people. I'm very empathic. That's also in my human design. I have an undefined solar plexus, which is the seat of emotions in the human design body graph. And I am undefined there. So that means I feel everyone else's emotions and I express. And I think they're mine. Well, they're not mine. They're the collectives. But I'm able to be this vessel of expression when I dance, for others to actually tap in and see and feel their own emotions. So one thing I know is my gift is, as a performer, I help people tap into what's going on for them and feel their emotions.
Right.
So
It's a form of therapy too. I mean,
yeah.
We don't realize that art and expressing ourselves, because people, you can do the opposite and go inward. And you could have, in your situation, let those people that hurt you take dance away from you. But something inside of you said, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to use this as a tool to release, to get it out, to therapy. Right.
Exactly.
And so for you to be able to share that with other people, that's quite the gift.
Yeah. And again, so grateful that I didn't give up on myself. And I have to do, I'm getting a little emotional. See, I'm a big feeler. And I'm not apologetic about it at all, because we're here to feel and be vulnerable,
exactly.
right? And this is the work I do with people, is to help them tune in to their real emotions and what's going on for them, so that they can actually live a life in integrity with their fullest self, because when we're suppressing our emotions, we're not tuned in to who we really are. And then we're just disconnected and we're living like kind of on like autopilot. So
And making bad choices, and it's just like a
yeah.
domino effect
And how
of
can you make a good choice? A good choice, in my opinion, is a choice that's right for you. It's not going to be right for anyone else. It's not what society tells you. It's not what your parents told you. It's not what your teachers told. It's not, no one can tell you what's right for you. So a good
Mhm.
decision is one that's in alignment with your inner truth. But you
Yep.
can't know your inner truth when you're suppressing your feelings and then disassociating from them. So that, again, work that I do with clients is to help them understand who they are, how they feel, what they really want, and also connect to the body. Because so many of us, whether they've had the kind of trauma I've been through or not, we're all so disconnected from our bodies because we're really, the way society is set up to do just that, right?
Yep.
Especially like ever since the Industrial Revolution. I mean, we're become such a like a heady society and just like automatons, right? And we're meant to just work, work, work and fit in these boxes and just keep going. And it's like, no, we have bodies. We don't want to forget that. Right. And so for movement and dance and nature, and there's so many, the sound healing, right? The vibrations of the sound through your body. Like these are all physical sensations that connect us to ourselves and are
Yep.
so important, right? So, but what I was saying that made me tear up is that what I had my dear friend, she's my longest friend. I've got to call her out right now, Carrie Rutnick Abukaloff. She is my best friend, long friend, time friend of 30 years. We have the same birthday, by the way. She's just 1 year older than me. And this June will be our 30th year anniversary of our friendship. We met
Oh,
at Joffrey Ballet School summer program in San Antonio, Texas. They had a satellite program and we were in San Antonio together and we were roommates and we've been best friends since then. And just so grateful for her. She helped me through my 20s as well. I like, she can tell you like, so like helped me not give up on dance. And, you know, I was, cause she knows as well, like the ballet world just makes people just feel so bad about themselves. It's so sad because it's such an amazing art form, but the world itself is really quite toxic. Again, I hope that
I would
it's,
be interested to know if anything has changed
yeah.
in fashion and dance and these
Mhm.
artistic forms where women are expected to be a certain size and expected to look a certain way.
And
I
shut up
wonder,
and not have a voice or not have an opinion. Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if anything has changed through the Me Too movement over the last few years. I wonder if
Mhm,
there's. I
mhm.
wonder. I'd be curious to know. I wonder if we could find someone that's
Yeah,
in it
so
still. Then.
because I've been in art, because I said I can't handle this world, I'm going to create my own world of dance. I've really been out of it for 20 years. So I just don't really pay attention as much. But I really hope so,
Yeah.
for women's sake, for mental health. But yeah, it was really hard to want to continue or to feel like I could continue because it was so painful for me to be dealing with all this messaging, and so I really wanted to give up. And Carrie's like, no, like she's seen me through it. She's seen how I haven't like given up on myself because dance is who I am. Dance is my medicine. It's not dance that brought me trauma. It's the people involved in the dance world that brought me the trauma. So I'm very clear about that. So thank God I did not give up on dancing. I gave up on the world of dance and created my own world. And that's what saved my life. And so going to Canada was for me to get out of society and the dance world.
Wow.
And also I was going through a lot of just issues of things coming up for me as I was dealing with the abuse that had happened in my past and just relationships in my current life were being really, really strained because some people didn't want to deal with it when I wanted to talk about things that had happened in the past. And that was really painful for me because I was like, I need support here, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, at this point, it was less than 10 years. It was about 10 years, less than 10 years after all the abuse had happened. I mean, it was still in,
Yeah. Oh, very,
nothing had
very
been, I
raw
didn't
and
have
fresh.
therapy. I didn't have support. I didn't have anything. I didn't have anyone to help me deal with this extreme trauma that I experienced as a child. So
Yeah.
I was just like, I got to get the heck out of California because I was back in San Francisco at that point. I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't stand this. And so I jumped to BC with a past partner. That's a whole nother story. I don't really like, oh, but I jumped, you know, he wanted to go and he had his own reasons I won't get into right now. I had gone up there with him just to see. I'd never been to British Columbia before. I was like, amazed. It is the most gorgeous place on earth that I've
So
been.
you
Like,
go from city girl to complete country girl.
yeah, such a country girl that I saw, no joke. I mean, bears all the time, lots of black bears, like right in like on my homestead. But I saw a grizzly bear from my kitchen window once. I was just like washing
Woo!
dishes and I look down the lane, the road. There was not, it wasn't a road, but you know, it was all, there wasn't any pavement, but it was like down the lane. And I
Path. Yeah.
see a grizzly bear just standing there, majestic, just like, I am here. And I was like, holy shit, that's a grizzly
Whoa.
bear from my kitchen window. So I share that to give a perspective of how wild it was where I lived. There was not like, I mean, there was like a tiny village, but we didn't see any people from the homestead. Like it was just glaciers and nature and forest. I mean, we're talking like wild, wild. Okay.
So
So
this reminds me of how it'll bring it full circle is the other day the post that I made about nature and you replied with how nature is medicine. And so the calling took you to a place of nothing but nature because
correct,
you needed to heal. That was the
correct,
medicine that was
correct.
like, Erin,
Yes,
you got to get out of the city. You got to
yes.
get up here and you got to see some grizzly bears.
Yes. And B, it changed. Oh my God, Sarah, it changed my life. Changed my life. See, I'm going to get emotional again because I am in love with that land. It it broke my heart to leave. I did not want to leave. I just told this story actually last week on my email newsletter. So if anyone wants to hear my stories, sign up for my email newsletter because I'm sharing personal stories. I'm really starting to share more personal stories in my email um,
Awesome.
that I send once a week on Saturdays. I
And I'll
shared
put all your information below on
awesome.
the comment
Yeah,
section so they can contact you and
cool.
reach you. Yeah.
So I shared the story of having to leave Canada and why. And again, it was because I was in a toxic relationship. He was extremely emotionally and psychologically abusive. And honestly, like I was doing the best I could. I didn't know anything different. So, you know, that's the issue is that when you've been around and experienced a lot of abuse, it's very hard not to continue to attract those kind of relationships because that's
Mhm.
what you know is normal. So
Exactly.
your template is like there, like installed, and then you're attracting them, which sucks, right? So that's why if we've experienced this, we have the opportunity to do a lot of inner work to heal that. And I'm on that journey. And that's also partly what compelled me to become a relationship coach because I've done so much inner work around my own relationship to myself, like decades of continual healing work for myself to heal this pattern. So anyways, bad relationship that I was in, but it's like, it's all meant to be. It's all okay. Like it's fine because it brought me to Canada. I would not have moved to the wilderness of Canada if I wasn't in that relationship. So
Hmm.
in that way, I understand it. It's all perfect, right?
Yep.
But moving to Canada, yes, it was nature that healed me. And then my own improvisational movement. That's when I started because I wasn't trying to perform. I mean, up there, like if I was gonna perform, I would like I started sharing YouTube videos because I wasn't on social media back then. So I would record myself dancing and I put things on YouTube at least. So I had a platform for sharing my dance. And
Hmm.
then I ended up people found out that I was there, because there were people around. It wasn't like no one around. There was communities of people around, and they heard that I was there, and they heard about they knew actually the reputation and my pedigree, of the professional dance that I had done. And they started coming. And so I ended up running I was teaching dance. I was doing a program. I put on a couple of full length productions. I self-produced with my dancers I had been training, 2 full length productions in a theater there. I did 12 different pieces. I choreographed. I did all the costumes. I did the programs. I did the music. I did everything. Right.
How
So
cool was that? Wow.
Yeah, in the middle of Canada with like when I'm going to create, I feel compelled to create. I'm very creative. And again, I have this in my human design. I have so many gates, which again are those gifts that are about creativity. And we all are creative. I mean, we all are. We have different flavors of it. We have different ways to express it. But I know about myself, I'm highly creative and compelled to create constantly. And so, yeah, I was dancing in the wilderness of British Columbia.
That's awesome.
What really healed me was my own dance for myself. And I started doing improvisational movement without choreography, without thinking it had to be a certain way. And just starting to move, which again was terrifying to me, because I was like, what if it's not good? Now I don't even think about this, but this was literally like I started that journey in 2007. And it took me 4 years of continual practice. You asked about meditation before we got on. My meditation is movement. Improvisational movement in the moment. So I have no plan of where I'm going, and I let my body respond to the movement and let myself be moved and guided. And I feel like this has been a very intentional practice to learn to get out of my mind and all the thoughts and judgment thoughts, because they just get in the way, and let the mind go and let the music move through my body and let myself move in response and become a vessel for source, for spirit, for God to move through my body as I'm dancing, as I'm moving.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a professional dancer. I know a lot of people have challenge with meditation because it's about sit still, close your eyes, listen to your breath, don't think. And that's hard. That's really hard to do, especially when you're going through challenging times. When life is good, yeah, meditation's great. Let me just take a little rest here. But when things are challenging and things are hard, to sit there and not think and not move is very challenging. So as an amateur who's never taken even one dance class in their life, is it something that they can incorporate into their life to dance, to move, to find that meditative state that you're speaking of? Do you have to be a professional, or can you be I've never done one dance move in my life? Like, what do you think about that?
That's a great question, Sarah. Thank you for asking. So honestly, in one way, having been a professional might kind of make it harder sometimes, because especially as a ballerina, it took me so much undoing of my of all the knowledge that I gained and put into my body. Because in ballet, it's very precise, and if it's not like exactly like where I can't show you in the Zoom, like if your finger isn't like in exactly the right place when you're doing your arms, like it's wrong, and it's like super precise.
Technical.
And so technical. And so sometimes all that technical knowledge actually gets in the way. That's what was challenging for me, because I was like, I can't just move in different ways. It has to be a certain way. Right. So, it also, though, to acknowledge, can feel intimidating for people that have never had any dance training to start to move their body. Like there's both kind of ends of the spectrum. Right. I recommend don't ever do it in front of a mirror to begin with. So that was what changed my life too, because in the ballet world growing up, it's all mirrors in the dance studio, and we're wearing leotard and tights and barely any clothes, and we're scrutinizing our body. So for me, what I've been dancing without mirrors mostly for years now. I don't even want mirrors around, because I don't want to think about how I look. So that's what I'm going to advise, is that you, in a safe space where there's no one around, with no mirrors, put on the music that moves you the most, that you love, and just start to gently move your body, and just think of it as like an exploration of like how your body can move. You're not trying to dance right now. You're just trying to let yourself move with the music, and see if you can imagine your mind emptying out, like you have a completely empty head, which, by the way, in human design, 70% of people actually do have an open head center. So we're not meant to use our minds for so many things that we use them for.
Right.
That's another conversation, but I just want to mention that. So imagine you have an empty head with nothing inside of it, no thoughts. Okay. And you're going to let the music just like wash through you, and see how you can start to like move in response. Just like explore. Just think of it as an exploration. And then, if you find a judgment coming up around what you're doing, just like, oh, just kind of let it float out, just let it float. Let it float away. You notice it and it floats away. And then you just keep moving and just start to see how it feels for your body to get to move. And this is how you begin. This is how I began as a trained dancer all those years ago in the Canadian wilderness. This is how I started to heal myself and connect to my internal world and my creativity through my own improvisational movement. So this is what I recommend for you. And just start with that and see how that feels. And then if that feels really good and you want some more guidance, then reach out to me and we can do that work together, and I can help to guide you, because I can do it through Zoom. I do what I call awaken your body sessions. And I help clients to start to connect to their body and start to find also how it wants to move,
Yeah.
in a way that's intentional around exploration, and healing, right?
Yep.
So that movement medicine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
being in Canada and doing this was what really started to heal me. But then the other thing is, I think I mentioned a while ago, and I didn't actually say the thing. So let me say it. The seminal thing that I ended up doing that literally saved my life was I filed a police report in 2008 because I had heard that my past teacher who had abused me had opened his own dance studio in California.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, okay, I have to do something, because I won't be able to live with myself if I know that one other girl has suffered the way I suffered because of him. And so I was compelled to do something about this. So this was 2008. And I went back to Chico. Actually, Chico is where it happened, where I actually grew up before my family, we moved to San Francisco. But so I went back to Chico and I filed a police report in 2008. And that initiated a nearly 2-year legal process that was the most intense 2 years of my life.
Wow. I got cold chills. Like I can imagine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
And he was the police detective who took my my statement is an angel, and I thank him. So I got a shout out to him as well. Stan Dutzman, thank you for believing in this story. You're
Yeah.
an angel. Because together he and I helped to save, who knows how many future victims from this man, and also past victims, because I heard after the fact actually that other women had experienced, abuse and inappropriate behavior from this man, from the teacher. And, so years later, I would get messages through like Facebook and stuff saying, thank you for taking a stand. So what happened is that after a year, he was convicted. He was arrested first. There was enough evidence that was gathered. And then we ended up going to court. I went to court.
Ooh, and you had to face him?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. For the first time since we're talking years. I don't know. It'd been years, right? Throughout my 20s. Like, cause I think I was, again, sorry, my math is not my favorite. I'm like, I don't know how old I was then, maybe 20, no, 30. I don't know.
It doesn't
32.
matter now. It doesn't matter at
Anyways,
this age. We're not counting anymore.
yeah, I'm like, whatever. Time is time. I'm like, I feel timeless. I don't even know. I can't keep track anymore. How old am I? I had no idea. So anyways, so yeah, we went to court and I had to face him. And I was prepared to go to trial as well. But luckily, that didn't have to happen. We ended up doing a plea bargain. But I did have to stand up in court and speak and make a statement. And like, I mean, we're talking like I can't even explain the everything I went through in those 2 years. It was relentless, honestly.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
insane. So I went to court and I spoke.
That's a whole other trauma too. It's like trauma on top of trauma.
Yeah. And so I made a statement and, let the court and everyone know what had happened. And actually I also was so determined that people knew the truth so they could protect themselves and their children. So I called the newspapers in Chico. I called the radio stations, the news stations, TV stations. I let them all know. I was determined to get media coverage on it so that people knew what was happening. And I was doing this all by myself, Sarah.
Yeah, where did you get the courage? Where do you think this courage came from? Because most people suffer in silence when it's sexual abuse or many kinds of abuse. You feel like you deserve it, or it's your fault, or you've done something wrong. And so where were you able to look at it and go, no, I'm going to do this because it's the right thing to do?
That's a wonderful question because it took me that's a great question. Part of it is that I honestly feel that going through this experience and finding this courage that I did to speak up is part of my dharma. It's part of my destiny to be here. I'm getting emotional again.
I know, I've had cold chills the whole time.
It's been so hard. My life's been so hard. And I feel like it's part of my dharma to do this for people, for myself and for others. Yeah. So I came in to this time with the innate gifts that I would need to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm literally like designed for it. I have a lot of courage naturally. Again, to speak to human design, I have a defined heart center. So the heart center in human design is not about feelings. It's about willpower and courage. And I'm defined. And actually, it's very rare. Actually, I was just talking to Ruby about this the other day because she also has a defined heart center. And it's very rare in the human design body graph and in the population to actually have a defined heart center. So I have a rare amount of courage and I understand I'm just made this way. And this is the beauty of human design. This is why. And this is all after the fact of human design. I'm learning all this after the fact. I didn't know anything about this back then. I wish I had. It would have helped me. I wish I had known my human design. But the timing
makes sense. I mean, you had this innate gift inside of you and you just trusted it. And it, like you're saying, it was meant to be. There was a guidance and a reason, even for this asshole coming into your life and doing those things to you, because then you were able to turn it into helping others.
Correct. And to break the cycle of silence. I also, my human design chart, have a defined throat center. And I have a lot, like I'm meant to speak. And I have so many channels, which are like connections from other centers I have that will go into my throat center. So many. So I am meant to speak and be a voice. This is part of my destiny. And so this is what changed my life and helped me become myself, Sarah, was finding my voice because I was stepping into my destiny. And so I'm here to break cycles of abuse for myself, my family, the world of ballet, for other women, for community, for, I'm here to break that cycle, to speak up. And that's what I was just compelled. I knew that even though I was freaked out and I was having panic attacks during this process. I had so much anxiety. But, also I want to just preface so you all understand a timeline here that I think is very, very important to put it in context. This was 9 years before the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
This is 9 years before. No one wanted to talk about this stuff when I
Yeah.
had to talk about it. No one wanted to.
I
So I
was
was a
just talking,
one-woman
I was,
army here. I was a
yeah,
one-woman
well, I
army.
was just speaking with someone, I can't remember the exact conversation, but we were talking about it, how, before that time, like, it was just kind of accepted. Like, that's just the way that it is. Everyone knew about it and no one would say anything about it. Even, your parents, they
Yep.
know that you're being abused by uncles or
Other
whatever, and no one
teachers,
says anything.
yeah,
The church, the places
exactly.
that you're supposed to be safe, and
Exactly.
women were so silenced, and the majority didn't have their voices. So even if you're hurting my daughter, I don't know what to do or what to say or where to go. So you having this courage, and in this moment, it makes perfect sense to the divine calling of why you had to go through all
Yeah,
that shit.
exactly. Exactly. And so that's, I just knew I had to do it. Even though, you say, where'd you find the courage? I had to do it. And it was terrifying,
It was
and I had to.
divine. It was divinity going.
Yeah.
You're going, whether you want
Yep.
to or not. You're doing it.
Exactly. And so we ended up, he ended up doing a plea bargain. And I think it's because once his lawyer heard me speak in court, he's like, he advised him, like, I think we probably shouldn't go to trial here. I think it's probably better just to do a plea bargain, because I had a powerful voice. I'd found my powerful voice. And so thank goodness we didn't have to go to trial. But then there was months later, I had to come back, and I was living in Canada at this time, and I was flying back to California on my own dime. Okay. To make all this happen, and flying back to California to do this. I mean, it was crazy. And so what kept me grounded in this very overwhelming time was nature. And I had a huge organic garden, huge, like 2,400 square foot organic garden. I'm going to send you the picture, Sarah. I want you to see the picture of my garden. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of pictures back at that time. I didn't have a phone back then. I didn't have a cell phone at this time. So I had a, camera. But I have some pictures, luckily. Not tons of pictures of evidence. I wish I had more pictures of my evidence of my homesteading life. Because again, I was like canning all my own food, growing all my own food from scratch. I had a root cellar. I was putting things up. I was fermenting. I made kombucha. I was making sourdough bread from scratch. I was making, I did all these things again before they became trendy. Like no one.
Well, I was gonna say, do you know how important that is to have those life skills?
I have life skills. I know how to take care of myself. I taught all of myself that through reading a ton of books and then looking through blogs on the internet. I wasn't on social media back then, so I didn't see what anyone else was doing. I just knew what I needed to do. And so growing my own food. So that summer, in between the two court dates, there was a court date in June 2009 at this point. And then September is when they set the court date for the sentencing hearing, when the judge was going to decide the outcome, right? And so in between that time, I went back to Canada, and I was in my garden, and I was like, oh God, it's just so intense, and I would just put my hands in the dirt, and I would grow food, and I would connect with Mother Nature, and I would let the earth ground me. And I'm going to be very emotional again, because
man, I feel you.
Gaia is my mother. She was my spiritual mother that changed my life. And helped me find a sense of safety that I had never had before. So connecting through my body, through my movement, my improvisational healing movement, to my garden as well, to nature all around me, to my doggie. I cannot leave out Cooper. I've had two angels in my life. One was Stan Dutzman, the detective that took my case, and the other was my dog Cooper. He is my Havanese wizard. Oh, there's balloons floating up. Do you see balloons floating?
What was that?
Oh my God, I just got, Cooper. Oh God, wow.
I've never seen that. I don't know what that was.
Okay, I'm getting chills. Oh my God. I'll also send you the post. I did a post around this on Instagram so you can see. I'll share with you the link if anyone, maybe we should share that too underneath if anyone's interested.
Totally. Yeah. We'll share anything we
Cooper was
want.
my Havanese wizard. He was a wizard. He had a long beard. I didn't cut it in 15 years. This long beard. He was this beautiful black and white Havanese. They're Cuban, by the way, Cubano. So we spoke Spanish together.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
anyways, Cooper came as well to change and save my life. And he was my angel that was with me during this process.
These
So
times.
my doggy Cooper, and then the garden and nature, and then my dance is what saved me during this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. The thing with nature is, you know, we don't realize it, that even if you're not living in British Columbia or out in the nature somewhere, nature is healing wherever we are. So
yeah,
even
absolutely.
if there's a tree, just you're going through some shit, go and hug that tree.
Give it
go and sit down by the tree.
In San Francisco, there's this tree right outside of the church where I teach. So my mom is actually the pastor of a church. She became, speaking of midlife, going back and finding your calling, she became an ordained pastor in her 40s.
Oh, wow.
40s or 50s, I forget. Anyways, midlife. And so she has this beautiful church in San Francisco, and this is where I've been running my classes, and I work in a sanctuary. Like when I'm in San Francisco, I am teaching and dancing in a sanctuary, not a dance studio. I mean, talk about sacred medicine movement, you know? And this is with all my clients and all my wedding dances, because I also run Steps to Love wedding dances. I've worked with around 200 engaged couples creating custom choreographed first dances for couples getting married. And
very cool.
Yeah, and helping them have a more deeply connected, bonded relationship moving into their wedding day. So this is
wow. So it's not even just about, it's not even about learn the dance for all the photos and the guests. It's about connecting, which goes back to your relationship coaching. Correct. And yeah.
Actually, that honestly, my couples are the ones that gave me the idea I should actually become certified as a relationship coach, because they, through their process, through my unique signature process of working with them, they were like, this is like couples counseling. And I'm like, yeah, that's basically just how I know that's how I work with people. My purpose around that. I was like, yeah, I might as well just become certified and call it
a form of
official
expression, because I'm we're like expressing our love to each other through movement.
Well, and it's also through being a conscious team. So I guide them to choose who leads and who follows. I don't make assumptions around gender roles or just assign them roles. I don't say, oh, you know, for my hetero couples, I don't say, oh, you're the guy, you lead, you're the woman, you follow. No, I explain to them what those dynamics are, and I allow them to both choose, so that then they're understanding we're making a conscious choice together to play these roles on purpose together, and we can learn to work in harmony. And we need to surrender. It's a very deep, deep process I guide my couples through that is so much more than just dance steps.
That's beautiful, Erin. I love that.
And yes, they learn how to dance together, and they will have an amazing custom choreographed dance that will amaze their guest on their wedding day. But what is the most important point of working with me for their wedding dance is that they learn how to connect as a couple.
Yeah.
So anyways, oh, I started talking. See, there's so many. I'm also a manifesting generator, which is, if you know about human design, means I have a lot going on. I'm multi-passionate, multi-creative, multifaceted. And so there's so many things to share that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm talking about my other whole very successful business I've created, Steps to Love. And I'm like, wait, what was I talking about before that guided me? What were we just talking about before that? I just totally
they guided us to that
guided me to talking about the wedding dances.
We're talking about your sanctuary in San Francisco, where you teach there, and the tree, the tree out in front of the sanctuary.
Thank you, Sarah. I was like, how did we get here? The tree. There's a tree outside the church, and every day before I run in, and I'm always at the last minute, like I'm not late, but I'm not early. So I'm running in to open up the door to go in to work with my clients. But well,
you do well in Mexico then.
every day. Yeah, but I'm not late. That's the thing. I'm not late. I don't like to be late, you know? So I kiss the tree before I walk. I'm like, and I kiss the tree actually on my way in and on my way out. I would hug it too. There's a big, beautiful redwood there as well. And I want to hug it, but it's kind of up on a hill and I don't want to climb up and fall over, you know, but in Canada, I used to hug. So in Canada, they have cedar trees, not redwood trees. And so cedars are really important to me, very, very important. And I would hug the trees all the time.
Yeah.
And I would talk, but I have to say, I have to brag a little bit. I grew up amazing garden and I had never grown so much as a house plant before. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have to have conversation because I'm trying to learn and I have all of the tools, the YouTube videos and the social media, but it's not easy. But I do know that that is the only way to really be self-sufficient, especially with where we're going in and knowing where your food comes from.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
was the
knowing how
healthiest.
it was produced.
It's amazing. I was the healthiest I've ever been in my entire life when I was eating my own food that I was growing and preparing. I was preparing all my food from scratch. I mean, I was making my own condiments like ketchup. Okay. I wasn't buying it from the store.
Dude,
I was
that's
making my own,
awesome.
like it was like full, like it was like soup to nuts, like the whole thing. Erin was doing it, you know, in terms of my food production. I was super healthy. It's a lot of work though. I don't have time for all that right now, but I have those skills at least that I
At
want to
that point,
incorporate into my
exactly.
future.
So whatever
Right.
you move into the
Right. Right.
later years in life.
So yeah, so all that food, like it was amazing. And my garden was amazing. And the garden, to go back to finish my story here, because this is important, just so you know, you're like, wait, what happened with the trial, with the legal process?
Yes.
So the garden helped me stay sane enough to be able to fly back in September 2009 and then go to that final court date. And it turns out that he was convicted as a sex offender. And so he had pled guilty on 3 counts of molestation of a minor. And so he was convicted and banned from ever working with children, with minors, unsupervised ever again. And then he ended up going to jail. Now he went to jail for a year. People like, a year? Like, it's amazing he even went at all. And I want to say a lot of times this will not happen. Like, there's no justice. There's these cases don't even make it to this point. And a lot of people aren't convicted of anything. And so for any of you out there that have had, you know, something similar and bad happened to you and abuse happened to you in the past and you've tried, like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry if you haven't had the same resolution. But I understand that for me, I was determined to get that kind of a resolution. I was in control of it. I was not in control of this, but I did the best I could. And I believe that it had to happen that way so that, again, I could have, I mean, it saved my life emotionally to have this outcome. And then also allows me now to, well, have been successful in preventing future victims from abuse. And then also to be able to speak about this, to share about this, right?
Yeah.
So it had to happen.
Because through that process, you've had to learn these tools to help you heal. So whether the predator gets convicted or goes to jail with other people, that's irrelevant because you have the tools now. So whatever kind of abuse, you can help them through that, through other tools. So whether they're convicted or not, you got to focus on yourself. You got to focus and worry about healing yourself and find a way to disconnect from that does not define you. It's something that happened to you, something horrible, but it does not define you. And you can share the tools to help you get to that point.
And what you just said is so beautiful because that was exactly my message. So after this all happened, I was exhausted. I felt like a Mack truck ran over me. I felt like I was, you know, like to have gone through this was just like, oh my God. So for the whole winter, I was just like exhausted and I was in my cabin in Canada and it was snowy outside and I just stayed in, you know, I had a very quiet winter of integration and exhaustion, frankly, for months after going through this. But then eventually, as time went on, and I was able to kind of regain some energy and, you know, some equilibrium after this experience, I started advocating and being a part of the 1 billion rising movement, which was started by Eve Ensler. And it's a worldwide movement. At least 200 countries have gotten involved now in terms of being a part of this movement, and it's to raise awareness around abuse against women and girls specifically. And I want to mention, it's not just women and girls that are abused. We know that there's also other genders and males that are. So I'm sorry about that. But this movement was specifically for women and girls. So I just don't want anyone thinking I'm exclusivizing abuse to women, but this movement was for that. And so I became a part of it, an advocate. And I was asked, and I said yes, to give a speech. And so I gave a speech and I shared my story. It's actually on my, again, another link we can share. There's a recording of that. I have it on my YouTube. Of me giving this speech. And it was the first time I had talked about it after the fact and sharing my story of what happened. And then I also did dances, and it was all about movement and dance, actually, and rising through dance. And so I led an entire stage full of women, and we did a dance that I choreographed. And then there was a whole auditorium of people in the theater that had come for this event. And I was leading all of us, the whole theater, in a dance, to stand up against abuse. So then I did this for a few years.
It's so beautiful. I love your story, girl. I mean, I'm sorry for all the trauma and the tragedies, but it's like what you said, you wouldn't be where you are today had you not gone through and overcome each of these trials and tribulations. And I think that's a huge message that we need to remember. When life is kicking our ass, like, there's a brighter day. And so finding our way through the fire, because there's no way to go around it. Life is tough. And I believe that it's kind of predestined. I believe that we have the challenges to help us get to the places that we need to get to. And your story shows that, tells that. If you hadn't gone through those, you wouldn't have been able to get this guy arrested, or to be in the place of helping other people with therapy and with coaching and with dance. And so what I'm trying to say is, it's like, we need to trust that the challenges are there for a reason, and that there is light on the other side of it. There's a reason for that. And so finding the way through the fire, and whatever passage or path that means, in dance, meditation, therapy, nature, gardening, whatever
journaling,
that is for that person.
Community. There's so many ways to do it. Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. And so that search for deeper meaning, Man's Search for Deeper Meaning, Viktor Frankl, that amazing book. The search for deeper meaning of going through traumatic experiences, or all the shit that we go through in life, is what we're here for. And it's up to you. Are you going to find that deeper meaning or not? And no one can do that except for you. And I've always been determined to find the deeper meaning of everything I go through. And I know it's so that I can help others find the meaning in their own life, and then learn that they can overcome those challenges to become their fullest expression of themselves and live a life in alignment with who they came to be. But it's a journey, and it's not going to happen automatically. You got to
go through the fire. That's the thing.
You got to go through the got to be committed. And I recommend getting support, because I didn't have any, and it was really hard. But I'm uniquely designed to be very independent. I have also, it's called single definition in my human design. And I basically have access through my single definition to all of my gifts and all of my energy centers on my own. This does not mean I am actually all about connection as well in my human design. I have a lot of connection needs and energy and sharing. It's like really big for me. But my point is that I am able to access my gifts as a single definition human easier than certain other people that are not designed that way. A lot of us need support. I mean, we all do. I need support. Believe me, I need support. So finding the right support with someone that you trust, that you feel has integrity, that has lived through the fire and stepped through it, and can help you and be there for you, is so important. Whether that's a coach or a therapist, or a really trusted friend that you actually, have that beautiful connection with, which is so rare, right? But it's so beautiful when you find that. Or it could be a family member. But, having the right support is invaluable. And again,
Mhm.
with, just trusting that you're worth it. It's really important. I think a lot of people, I know for me in my coaching practice, I feel like there's a lot of people that really want to work with me, but they don't allow themselves to actually feel that they deserve it, that they are worth
Mhm.
investing their time, their energy, and their money into getting the support they need from me,
Right.
or could be someone else, of course, but they don't feel that they're really worthy of the support. And so
Investing in
therefore they
themselves, because they
investing
should
in
be
themselves.
investing in something, a house or the kids' school, or so many other things.
Yeah,
But I think what we don't realize is until we do the work, the self-healing on ourselves, all those other things are going to be kind of half-ass
exactly.
because we're suffering on the inside.
Exactly.
So we're
Yeah.
not.
Maybe they want to, this is very common, like, oh, I'm going to save all my money for a vacation rather than working,
Yeah,
getting support on my emotional healing journey, my inner healing journey. I'd rather I got to spend the money on a vacation.
I'm gonna go on a vacation. Yeah.
But that's a one-time fix. It's not a fix. It's a one-time experience that you may not even enjoy if you're not well emotionally. Like, what I help people do is find emotional health, wealth, and freedom. If you
Yep.
don't have emotional wealth, if you don't feel healthy emotionally and free, that vacation is not going to do you
Because you're just
any
going to pick a
good.
vacation and you're going to sleep. You're just going to either sleep or drink it away, or
Right.
sleep, drink, and eat. It's like, ugh.
So
You're not going to choose,
investing
like we said
in
a minute ago, about being in the right place to make the choice, the best choice for you. Right.
right.
So you're not going to choose a vacation where you're connecting with nature and the local culture and the things that I do with sustainable tourism.
Exactly.
You're
Yep.
not going to choose that because you just want to escape. You just
Right.
want to get away.
Right.
So you've
You're
got to
gonna
do the
numb out
healing.
and
Mhm.
yep. Yep, exactly. So this is what I'm opening up this conversation, sharing it for those of you out there that it may be resonating with. You're like, oh yeah, that's me. A lot of people don't invest in themselves and their own emotional healing work. And yet it's the foundation of anything else you want to
Everything.
experience, right?
Everything. Yeah.
Right? So it's vitally important, because again, if you don't have that, nothing else is going to actually fulfill you. So what's the point of chasing things outside of yourself that actually don't change your experience of being you in your
It's on the
body, in your
inside.
daily life,
Exactly. Or if
right?
you're like doing everything for everyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your family, you've got kids, you've got elderly parents, you've got a demanding work, you've got a husband or wife, whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
you're giving, and there's no one taking care of you. So whatever you're suffering from is only going to grow. It's only going to increase, and it's going to get harder and harder to
Yeah.
provide for all of these people.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So you're worth it. Your relationship with yourself is the foundation of everything in your life. Do not minimize it. It is everything. And that's why, I mean, I knew that Erin, way back then was like, she knew, like, even though her mind was like full of shame and judgment and all the terrible negative voices about herself because of what I'd been through. But like underneath it, she's like, I'm worth it. There's something inside of me that's like, I can't give up on myself. I can't
Mhm.
give up on myself. I have to do this. I'm worth it. Right. Like,
Yeah.
and thank God that I made myself worth it to do the hard work, because now I've freed myself. And I'm not saying everything's perfect. Like, I still have things that come up. I get triggered around certain, areas of my life. Like, it's a continual journey. I'll be doing this work my whole life. It's
Hmm.
not like I'm perfect. That's not even the goal. But
No,
I
because I
can
think the clients and the people that are still coming into your life are teaching you, right? Because these are
absolutely.
experiences that you haven't had. So then you're utilizing, sharing your tools to help your clients,
Mhm.
then of which you're learning what they need, right? And which
It's a
is growing
beautiful journey
your
of
knowledge base.
continual learning, continual learning. I see my life as a creative adventure. I create my life as an adventure, which is one reason I moved to Mexico.
Yay!
Because I needed that adventure. And again, my soul said, do this, right?
Mhm.
And my soul said, okay, Mexico. And I hadn't, Mexico wasn't on my radar when I was younger. I mean, I grew up in California, and Mexico's really close. Like, you know, but it wasn't on my radar actually until until I went in 2018. Actually right after my doggy Cooper passed. He passed away, and my friend was like, come with me. We need to go on a heart healing trip, you know? And I'm like, I don't want to go. And she's like, come with me. And thank you. Thank you so much, Scarlett, for inviting me on that trip to Mexico, because it activated something in me. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, Mexico. And I just got this inner soul knowing, and I was like, I need to be there. I don't know why, but I need to be there. And when I feel that now, I listen to it, you know?
Yep.
And so then 2020, I jumped. I went one-way ticket, one suitcase. I didn't know anyone there. And I spoke a tiny bit of Spanish. I'd been teaching myself with like a Audible, you know, learning course. That was it. And now, you know, just over 3 years later, I have been able to meet amazing people. I became a legal resident there. I got a car there last year, which was fantastic because, you know, I didn't have one for a couple of years. So got a wonderful, you know, used car from a friend, and have just met amazing people there. And I just bought a house. I just bought my house.
Yay!
Which is a huge deal because I've been a struggling artist my whole life. I've been an artist. Like, I have not made very much money in my life. Okay. Like, I really haven't. I made so little money for so many years of my life. I didn't even have to file taxes. I was making that little money. Okay. Just to give you all context here. Now, the last number of years, I decided to empower myself and become an entrepreneur and run my own businesses and get really serious about my finances. Cause I'm like, I'm on my own here. I'm on my own.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not married. I don't have a husband to depend on. I don't have a family. Like, I'm on my own. I need to do this. If I'm going to, you know, change my trajectory here, I need to do this for myself.
And
And
take
so
care of yourself when you can't
so I've
work.
been super committed in the last number of years to building my business skills and running my own businesses, which I'm doing now. So I have the 2 businesses, Steps to Love Wedding Dances and Erin Parsley Coaching. And it's been so hard. It's been so hard. But I'm like obsessed with it because I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm here to do. I got to do this. So this is my next challenge.
It's again to lean into those challenges, because that's who you're going to become the truest, what did you say a minute ago? The real, not the realist, but your true self, living your
expression of my true self, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
that overflows to everyone else. So if you're connected to your truth, you're trusting your truth, you have a good relationship with yourself, then everything else, that's the foundation of everything. And so now you living in Mexico,
yes,
going through challenge of that on its own.
Yeah, as you know, like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's just a little wild, right? Just like overwhelming. And, you know, I people see me through, you know, social media or whatever, and like sharing things. And I've had people say like, oh, you're so lucky you got to do that. I'm all, lucky?
I know, yeah.
Like, what? I'm like, luck had nothing to do with it. Believe me. It's
a little bit of craziness,
grit, gumption, and determination.
Yes.
I made this shit happen because I needed to, you know. So no, it's not. I mean, there's times there I was overwhelmed and crying and just like, what am I doing? You know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy creating a life outside of the box like that. But for me, I'm compelled to do it because I'm here for it. You know, I'm here for it. I'm here to do what I need to do and live the kind of life that is going to enliven me, excite me, fulfill me, make me feel like I'm sharing my gifts. It comes down to that. We all have
You just said it,
gifts.
sharing your gifts. And that's exactly why I started doing Real Women, Real Talk, because it's a play. We're all born with these innate gifts. And
Absolutely.
we're all different. We all have different paths, but we have different paths, but we all go through the same things. The challenges are different, but the emotional, the health, the wellness, these are all things that we're going through. So we're going to relate to certain gifts that people that other women have. And so that was kind of my whole intention of doing this podcast, is so you could share your gifts, because someone's going to relate to you, whether it's them or someone they love. They're going to go, okay, that sounds like my sister, or that sounds like my cousin, or wow, I'm going to call Erin now, because what is this human design? How do I find out what my human design is, so that I know the places in my body that are open, and that I can focus on to put the more of the work through that area, because maybe I'm going through another part of my body that's blocked, and I shouldn't be trusting that part. And that's why I keep making these same repetitive relationship choices or career choices, or you know, whatever that is. And so I think I'm super happy for you to share your gifts and your journey, because what a ride, girl. What a ride.
Exactly. And it's not over yet. But the difference is now I trust, the difference I'm going to say is that I trust myself to be able to navigate it, because I keep trusting that I'll continue. Now I know how to really tune in to my body's wisdom and to make the correct choices for me. And just know that I can handle anything that comes my way. I have that resilience to be able to always stand up again. I feel like sometimes I'm flat on the floor and I feel like I'm just like, oh, you know, like life wipes me out and just knocks me down. But I know I can stand up again and continue to walk forward, you know?
And this is what we need to share. This is the part that we need to share for any women who are going through any kind of challenging situation, is they have it within themselves as well, but they got to figure out how to get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You all have it. Everyone has unique skills, talents, gifts, innate gifts. That's the best word for it. You are a gift, and you have specific gifts as well that you're here to be sharing. And so when you start to really learn what that is, it's just such a pleasure, you know, because you're like, I am special. I have special talents and gifts to give the world. And I know that you want to share them, but sometimes we don't know what they are. And it's hard to share what we're not aware of. So getting this self-awareness work, this getting to know who you really are in the full spectrum of you, is really, really a beautiful journey. So I encourage you to have the courage to start and to do it.
Aho. Well, Erin, we can talk for hours and hours, and I do hope that we do carry on without the camera, because there's so many more questions I want to ask, but due to time and keeping this and keeping it at a so we're not sitting here for 5 hours.
No, it's such a pleasure to connect with you. Thank you for inviting me on to be able to share, just share what I've been through, you know,
thank you for sharing, and thank you for being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, because it will, like I said, some women will connect to it and relate to it. And without you putting yourself out there, someone might not have heard your story that needed to hear it.
Well, they most likely haven't, because there's a lot to share, and I don't go around just telling everyone everything, you know, but I'm feeling more really compelled in this time in my journey now to once again start sharing. It's been about 10 years since I did any of the advocacy work I talked about in the 1 Billion Rising movement. It's been a long time, because I've needed a break, and I was just on other things I've been creating, but now I'm feeling like it's time to start sharing again, because I want my journey to be evidence that you too can heal and find your power, your voice, and your connection to your body, no matter what you've been through.
Yeah. And I think that's why you're here in Mexico too. I think there's something here in Yucatan, Mexico. I think there's something really special and unique about this place. And I've said it over and over again. This is, it's why I'm here. It's why I fell in love 20 something years ago, and why it's kind of pulling us all together, because the world needs healed, and the women heal. We need the masculine, definitely, but we need the women to be living in their highest purpose and their highest I keep losing the word, but true
expression, I would say.
expression. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that we can
And
balance out that masculine with that, or the balance the feminine with the masculine.
right.
And I really believe those of us who have been called to heal, to help, to share, are coming to certain places like Yucatan
Mhm.
to come together to increase our power, to
Right.
grow the intensity of it. So I think you're
And as
exactly where you're
women
supposed to
support
be.
each other, it becomes so powerful. It's so powerful for us to be here, not in competition, but in connection, right? And so that's really important for me. I was very isolated for most of my life, feeling I had a really hard time. You're right, we could keep talking forever. Oh my gosh, I just had a really hard time connecting with other women when I was younger, and I didn't have close connections or friendships with women or girls because I don't
Especially in
know,
your
we're all
industry.
having so many issues, and we were just like in our own,
Everyone had to be the skinniest and the prettiest, and
well, in the
yeah.
ballet world, there's so much competition. And I was always like the weirdo in the ballet world that wanted to I was like encouraging other girls and there was like, why are you talking to me? And I was like, what? Like I never fit in that world of competition. And so I was like the weirdo in the ballet world because I like, let's be friends, let's help each other. Like I've always been that way. And it wasn't the vibe back then. So
Well, thank God for weirdos.
yeah, exactly. So now it's just, I made a conscious intention and a prayer in 2012, specifically. I was still up in Canada at that point. And I said, please, God, bring me connections with women that are harmonious, that are life-giving. I want to start to make other female connections so I have friends that are, like I
That you
said,
can trust and lean
that I can
onto. And
trust, that I feel connected to. And I made that intention in 2012. And I've been able to, and I'm really grateful in these last, well, now 12 years, gosh, for that to start to unfold. And I feel much more connected. So the power of the feminine in harmony with each other that are here for connection over competition is very, very important. I absolutely agree. And then also the power of, because when women are harmonized with themselves and each other, they can then much more easily connect with the masculine in a
holding
compassionate
space
way.
for the masculine and
Right.
understanding them the way they need to be understood.
Right. Because I honor the masculine so much. A lot of my clients, by the way, are men. I've worked with, I mean, it's kind of like equally balanced, honestly. Like it hasn't just been women. I love working with men.
And men need to understand that they can do the self-healing too, that they can be
Oh yeah.
vulnerable and do the work
Oh yeah.
and meet the feminine.
That is the new frontier, men. I see you. You are here to rise up in your own integrated masculine to meet the feminine. And together we walk into a world of peace and harmony. So I am deeply committed to helping the masculine as well. And I love men and I love supporting them. I love working with them. And they seem to really trust me and really gain, they feel very comfortable with me. So
Yeah.
if any men out there happen to be listening to this or non-binary,
Or
by the way,
or
it's not
it's a
the genders.
relationship of a woman who's listening to this, their son, their husband,
Yes.
their father.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I work with all genders and all orientations. I'm a bisexual woman, which I'm just really starting to talk about, like coming out in a way. I've never hidden it, but I just haven't actually shared it. And now I'm realizing that's actually very important so that people, again, have an example, right? And I have worked with all different genders and orientations as well, which I'm very committed to. It's a super safe space for you to be yourself, no matter who you are.
Yep.
Very, very important to me. That's a whole nother topic. I don't want to talk to, sorry, just there's so many things to share,
I know.
but I'm really committed to it. I'm committed
What
to
we'll
that.
have to do is we'll have to do another one. We'll have to do
Okay.
another session with
Sounds great.
Erin
Sounds
Parsley
great.
and Real Women, Real Talk.
Okay, I'm going to flip it.
So good. It was so amazing. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your personal stories. It means a lot. And I know that women are going to connect to it. And I will leave all of your connection information below in the comments. And just, they can reach out to you directly and you guys can connect.
Start a conversation.
Your magic
Absolutely.
your magic can start there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, Sarah. And just, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you.
Me too. I look forward to seeing you in person.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye, honey.